The space station was busy that night, lights blinking, engines humming, voices echoing through the long corridors, ships came and went, traders argued, and strange smells from alien food filled the air. But in one corner, away from the noise, a small figure moved in the shadows. It was a girl, but not a human girl. Her skin had a soft blue glow, her eyes were silver like liquid metal. She held something close to her chest, something glowing with a strange light. It was an amulet, small but alive with power. Her hands shook as she tried to hide it. Behind her, heavy footsteps followed. 3 alien men walked with sharp eyes and cruel smiles. They wore black armor and carried weapons at their sides. One of them hissed, "There she is! Don't let her run!" The girl's breath caught. She turned quickly, trying to escape through the narrow passage, but her small legs were too weak. She stumbled, hitting the wall. The amulet almost slipped from her fingers. She grabbed it tightly again, heart racing. At the same time, a human engineer named Daniel was walking down that same corridor. He worked on ships for a living, fixing engines, patching broken parts. He was not a hero, not a soldier, just a man tired from a long day. But when he turned the corner, he saw the scene. The girl pressed against the wall, her silver eyes wide with fear. The 3 hunters moved closer, ready to strike. Daniel stopped. His first thought was simple: walk away. This was not his fight. He had no weapon, no reason to stand against them. He could just turn and leave, pretend he never saw anything. That was the smart choice. But his eyes caught the way the girl held the amulet, not like a treasure, but like her very life. She whispered words he could not understand. Her small body trembled. Her eyes begged for help. The leader of the hunters sneered. "Hand it over, child. You have no right to it. And it belongs to us." His hand reached forward, claws ready to rip the amulet away. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Memories rose. When he was young, alone, no one helped him. He had lived with that pain all his life, and now he saw the same fear in her eyes. Before he could stop himself, he stepped forward. His voice echoed in the corridor. "Leave her alone." The hunters froze, looking at him. Their eyes narrowed. One of them laughed. "A human? This is no business of yours." Daniel swallowed. His heart pounded in his ears. He was only one man, facing 3 armed aliens. But something inside him refused to back down. The girl gasped softly. Her eyes locked on him with hope. For the first time that night, she was not completely alone. Daniel moved closer, standing between the girl and the hunters. His voice was steady, but inside he shook. "You'll have to go through me first." The corridor grew silent. Only the hum of the station's engines filled the air. The hunters looked at each other, surprised by his boldness. The leader's smile turned cruel. "Very well, human. If you want to die for her, so be it." He raised his weapon. The girl gripped the amulet tighter. It pulsed with light, as if reacting to her fear. Daniel felt the heat of danger on his skin, but he did not move. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. A tired human engineer, a terrified alien child, and 3 ruthless hunters. The fight for the amulet was about to begin, and deep inside, Daniel knew one thing: his life was about to change forever. The corridor exploded with movement. The leader raised his weapon, but Daniel acted first. He grabbed a heavy tool from his belt and swung it hard. Sparks flew as metal hit metal. The hunters snarled, surprised that a human dared to strike. "Run!" Daniel shouted to the girl. She hesitated for a second, then clutched the glowing amulet and rushed forward. Daniel stepped back, blocking the hunter's path. His arms shook, but his voice was firm. "You're not taking her." The smallest of the hunters lunged. Daniel ducked. The blade cut the air above his head. He pushed the alien into the wall, then grabbing the girl's arm, he pulled her down the passage. The hunters roared in anger and followed. The space station was like a maze. Narrow metal corridors twisted in every direction, markets filled with smoke and noise, stairs that led to dark levels where the lights barely worked. Daniel and the girl ran through all of it, their footsteps echoing behind them. The girl's breath came fast. Her silver eyes shone with fear. Daniel pulled her along, weaving between crowds of traders and machines. The hunters were close, their shouts cutting through the chaos. "Stop them! They have what is ours!" Some aliens turned to look, confused. Others stepped aside quickly, not wanting trouble. No one helped, no one dared. It was Daniel against them all. They reached a cargo bay, giant containers stacked high. Daniel pushed the girl behind a crate. He leaned against it, trying to catch his breath. "What is that thing?" he asked, pointing to the amulet glowing in her hands. The girl's voice was small. "It is my life. If they take it, my people die." Daniel stared at her. The amulet pulsed like a heartbeat. Blue and gold light spilling into the shadows. His mind raced. This was no ordinary jewel. Before he could ask more, heavy footsteps entered the bay. The hunters were closing in. The ear shadows stretched across the floor. The leader's voice growled, "You cannot hide, human. Hand over the girl, and we might let you live." Daniel looked at the girl. Her small hands shook, but she didn't let go. He thought of leaving her, saving himself. It would be easy. But when he saw the fear in her eyes, something inside him refused. He whispered, "Stay behind me." Then he grabbed a steel pipe from the ground. His heart pounded, sweat dripped down his back, but his feet stayed firm. The hunters moved closer, weapons raised. Daniel waited, breathing slow. Then, at the last second, he smashed the pipe against a control panel. Sparks burst out. The door to the bay slammed shut between them, cutting off two of the hunters. "Move!" Daniel shouted, pulling the girl again. They ran through the side door, alarms now echoing through the station. The hunters roared behind them, smashing the door. The chase grew faster. Daniel's lungs burned. The girl stumbled, but he caught her. His arm wrapped around her as they ran down the lower levels. These halls were darker, filled with strange smells. Machines hissed steam. Broken lights flickered. The girl clutched the amulet tighter. Its glow lit their path. Finally, they reached an old maintenance shaft. Daniel ripped open the grate. He pushed the girl inside, then crawled in after her. The tunnel was narrow, cold metal scraping their arms. They crawled in silence, only their breaths and the hum of machinery around them. Daniel whispered, "Why are they after you? Why risk so much for that amulet?" The girl's voice was shaky. "Because it is not just mine. It is for all of us. Without it, my people cannot survive. They will take it, and we will be slaves forever." Her words hit him hard. This was bigger than he thought. He wasn't just saving one child. He was standing in the way of something far greater. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed. The hunters had found the shaft. Their claws scraped metal as they began to crawl inside. The girl gasped. Daniel turned quickly. He pulled a flare. From his belt, lit it, and threw it back down the shaft. Fire and smoke filled the tunnel, slowing the hunters. They crawled faster. Daniel pushed the girl forward. Finally, they reached a hatch. He kicked it open. They fell out into another market level. People turned, startled. Daniel grabbed the girl's hand, running again. The hunters broke through behind them, their eyes burning with rage. The chase was far from over. As they disappeared into the neon haze of the lower markets, Daniel realized something. This was no accident. This meeting, this chase, this girl. It had pulled him into a fight he never asked for. But deep inside, he knew one truth. He could never walk away now. Daniel and the girl ran until their lungs burned. The lower levels of the station were darker, filled with the smell of oil and smoke. Neon signs flickered above broken shops. The noise of the chase faded for a moment, but Daniel knew the hunters were not far. He pulled the girl into a narrow storage room. He pressed his back against the door, breathing hard. The girl's glowing amulet pulsed in her hands, lighting the small space with a soft blue-gold glow. Daniel's eyes locked on it again. "What is it, really?" he asked in a low voice. "Why risk your life for it?" The girl's silver eyes shimmered with fear. "It is the heart of Allura," she whispered. "My people's soul. Without it, our world will die. If they take it, they control us all." Daniel rubbed his forehead. He was just a mechanic. Not a fighter, not a soldier. He fixed ships, patched engines, lived paycheck to paycheck. And now here he was, hiding with a child carrying something that could decide the fate of a whole species. His mind screamed at him, "This is not your problem. Walk away. Save yourself." The door rattled suddenly. A voice outside hissed, "We know you're in there, human. Give us the girl, and you will live." Neil froze. His heart thumped like a drum. He looked at the girl. She stared back, her small hands trembling. Her voice broke. "Please, don't let them take it. Don't let them take me." He could end it all now. He could open the door, push the girl out, hand her to the hunters. They would leave him alive. He could go back to his normal life, repair ships, eat his meals in peace, sleep without nightmares. But in that silence, he remembered his own past. He remembered being a boy, hiding in the ruins of his home after raiders burned his colony. No one came for him. No one stood in the way. He had survived alone, but the scars never left him. Looking at the girl, he saw the same fear, the same loneliness, and something inside him snapped. Daniel stood tall, his jaw tightened. "I won't let them take you," he said, his voice steady now. The door cracked open. The leader of the hunters pushed his way in. His sharp teeth showed in a cruel grin. "Last chance, human. Step aside." Daniel gripped a wrench in his hand, his knuckles white. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." The hunters laughed. Their weapons gleamed in the dim light. They thought he was nothing, just a weak human. The leader charged. Daniel swung the wrench with all his strength. The sound of metal striking armor echoed through the room. The hunter staggered back, surprised. "Run!" Daniel shouted again. The girl darted out of the room, clutching the amulet. Daniel followed, swinging his wrench wildly to clear the path. Sparks flew as blades and tools clashed. They burst into the market. The crowd scattered, shouting in panic. Stalls tipped over. Crates crashed to the floor. Daniel grabbed the girl's hand and pushed forward, weaving through the chaos. The hunters chased, their roars shaking the air. Blades cut through stands, weapons fired. A beam struck the wall near Daniel's head, showering G-sparks. Daniel's legs screamed with pain, but he kept running. He knew one thing: if he let go, she was lost. Finally, they ducked into an abandoned docking bay. Shadows swallowed them. Daniel collapsed against a wall. His chest heaved. Sweat dripped down his face. The girl knelt beside him. Her small voice whispered, "You didn't leave me. Why?" Daniel looked at her, his voice rough but honest. "Because no one ever saved me when I needed it. And I swore I'd never let that happen to someone else." Her silver eyes glistened with tears. She touched the amulet gently. "Then you are my guardian now," she said softly. Daniel's throat tightened. He had never been called anything like that before. He had never been anyone's protector. Before he could answer, a loud crash echoed through the bay. The hunters had found them again. Their shadows stretched across the floor. Their leader growled, "You can't run forever, human. The amulet is ours. The girl is ours." Daniel gripped his wrench again. His body ached, but his spirit burned. He glanced at the girl, at the amulet glowing brighter than before. He knew this was no longer about survival. It was about choice, and he had already made his decision. He would fight, no matter the cost. The hunters closed in, weapons ready. The amulet pulsed in the girl's hands like a heartbeat. The bay filled with tension. Every breath was heavy, every second stretched. Daniel stepped forward, planting himself between her and the danger, his voice low but unshaken. "Then come and take her." The battle for the amulet, and for both their lives, was about to begin. The docking bay shook with the sound of metal boots. The hunters moved closer, their shadows long and sharp against the walls. Daniel stood in front of the girl, holding his wrench tight. His heart beat like thunder in his chest. The leader's voice cut through the silence. "You cannot win, human. Step aside and live." But Daniel did not move. He had already made his choice. He would fight for her. He would fight for the amulet, even if he did not fully understand why. The girl's hands trembled as she held the glowing amulet. Its light flickered faster, pulsing as if alive. For a moment, Daniel thought he heard a faint hum, like a heartbeat echoing through the walls. The hunters lunged forward, and the fight began. Daniel swung the wrench with all his strength. Sparks lit the air. He blocked one strike, dodged another. His body screamed with pain, but his will was iron. The girl pressed the amulet to her chest. Tears ran down her glowing skin. She whispered words in her alien tongue. The amulet pulsed brighter, filling the bay with golden light. The hunters paused, shielding their eyes. The leader hissed, "She is waking it. Stop her." Daniel moved fast. He pushed the girl behind him, his body shielding her. One hunter grabbed his arm, claws digging deep. Daniel shouted in pain, swinging wildly. His wrench smashed against the alien's face. The hunter fell with a snarl, but the others pressed in. Daniel was outnumbered. His legs buckled, his arms heavy, his breath ragged. Then, suddenly, the amulet burst with light. A wave of energy swept across the bay, knocking the hunters back. Their weapons clattered to the ground. The girl gasped, falling to her knees. The amulet dimmed again, as if it had given away some of its power. Daniel pulled her close. What just happened? Her silver eyes lifted to him. It is more than a jewel, she whispered. It is a key, a memory of my people, a soul locked in crystal. Without it, the ancient guardians of my world will never wake. If they do not wake, my people will perish. Daniel's chest tightened. He had expected a treasure, maybe a weapon, but this was something far greater, a whole world's survival hidden in one small child's hands. The girl clutched his sleeve, her voice shaking. They wanted to enslave us. If they control the guardians, they can control my people forever. Daniel's mind raced. He wanted to deny it, to believe it was too big for him, but the fear in her voice told him it was true. The hunters groaned, rising again. Their armor cracked, but their anger stronger than ever. The leader's eyes burned with hate. The key belongs to us, human. You cannot protect her, not forever. Daniel pulled the girl to her feet. Then we don't give them the chance. He grabbed her hand and ran deeper into the bay, searching for another way out. They slipped through a broken hatch and found themselves in the station's underbelly. Rusted pipes, leaking steam, the smell of oil and decay. Shadows crawled along the walls. The girl's amulet glowed just enough to guide them. They stopped for a moment, hiding in the dark. Daniel leaned against a wall, his arm bleeding from the fight. The girl touched the wound gently. You are hurt. He shook his head. I've been worse. But his body trembled from exhaustion. Her small voice filled the silence. Why help me, Daniel? You could walk away. You could be safe. Daniel looked at her, his voice rough but steady. Because I know what it feels like to have no one, and I won't let that happen to you. Her eyes glistened. She whispered, Then I trust you with the heart of Allura. She pressed the amulet against his chest. For a second, Daniel felt its power, warm and alive. A deep voice echoed faintly in his mind, as if the amulet itself spoke. Protector. He gasped, pulling back. What was that? The girl's lips curved into the faintest smile. It knows you. It accepts you. Before Daniel could answer, the sound of metal claws scraped nearby. The hunters were close again, tracking them. Daniel's jaw clenched. He looked at the girl, then at the amulet glowing between them. He understood now. This was not just about saving her. This was about saving an entire world, and he was no longer just a bystander. He was part of it. The hunters' voices echoed through the pipes. You cannot run, human. The amulet will be ours. Daniel stood tall, his wrench in hand, his voice steady. Not while I'm alive. The girl clutched his arm, her silver eyes glowing with new hope. Together, they stepped into the dark tunnels. The hunters followed, but the amulet pulsed brighter, as if guiding them toward something ahead. Somewhere in the shadows, the true purpose of the heart of Allura waited, and Daniel knew their fight had only just begun. The tunnels stretched endlessly. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Shadows moved like ghosts along the walls. Daniel and the alien girl pushed forward, her amulet glowing softly in her hands. Each step felt heavier, but they did not stop. Finally, the tunnels opened into a wide chamber filled with old machinery and forgotten crates. The air smelled of dust and rust. Daniel leaned against a wall, his body trembling with exhaustion. His arm still bled from the fight, but he forced himself to stay on his feet. The girl knelt beside him, silver eyes full of worry. You cannot keep fighting alone, she whispered. You need help. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. He knew she was right. They couldn't keep running forever. They needed allies, someone who knew this station better than the hunters, someone who could hide them. That was when footsteps echoed in the chamber. Daniel raised his wrench quickly, ready to fight, but a tall alien figure stepped from the shadows. His skin was green with golden streaks, his long coat patched with tools and wires. His voice was deep but calm. Easy, human. I am not here to harm you. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Then what do you want? The alien raised both hands, showing he carried no weapon. My name is Corin. I have seen the hunters chasing you. I know what they are. I know why they want the child." The girl clutched the amulet tighter, stepping closer to Daniel. Her voice trembled. "How do you know?" Corin's golden eyes softened. "Ed, because I once fought against them. They are slavers, dealers of life and death. They will stop at nothing to control the heart of Allura." Daniel studied him carefully. Every instinct told him not to trust strangers, but they had no other choice. The hunters were still searching, and Daniel's body was near its limit. Corin's voice was steady, persuasive. "I can help you escape this station. I know the secret paths, the forgotten docks. Give me your trust, and I will guide you to safety." The girl looked at Daniel, her silver eyes pleading. "Please, Daniel, we need him." Daniel hesitated, his gut twisted. Trust was dangerous, but he saw the hope in the girl's eyes. He lowered his wrench slowly. "All right. You help us, but if you try anything—" His voice hardened. "You'll regret it." Corin nodded. "Fair enough. Follow me." They moved through hidden passages only Corin seemed to know. He led them past broken engines, through service shafts, down into forgotten hangars. The hunters' voices faded farther away. For the first time in hours, Daniel felt a thin thread of relief. The girl whispered softly, "Thank you, Corin." Corin smiled faintly. "Do not thank me yet, little one. We are not safe." At last, they reached an abandoned docking bay. A small ship rested there, old but functional, its metal hull scarred by years of flight. Corin spread his arms. "This is my vessel. With it, I can take you off this cursed station." Daniel's shoulders eased. Maybe they had found a chance after all. He placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. "Looks like we're going to make it." But then, everything changed. The girl stepped forward toward the ship, clutching her amulet. Corin's golden eyes glinted strangely in the dim light. His smile widened, too wide. "Yes," he whispered, "you will make it, but not in the way you think." Before Daniel could react, Corin moved faster than expected. His hand shot forward, grabbing the girl's arm. His other hand snatched at the amulet. The girl screamed, "Daniel!" Daniel L. unged, swinging his wrench. Corin blocked it with surprising strength. His coat tore open, revealing hidden armor beneath. His voice turned cold, cruel. "Did you really think I was helping you? The hunters pay well, but the amulet will pay more. With this I will have power beyond them all." Daniel's stomach dropped. Betrayal cut deeper than any wound. He had let down his guard, trusted a liar, and now the girl was in danger again. "Run!" Daniel shouted, but Corin's grip was like iron. The girl struggled, tears streaming down her glowing skin. The amulet pulsed violently, reacting to her fear. Daniel attacked with all his strength. His wrench smashed against Corin's armor again and again. Sparks flew. Corin growled, shoving Daniel back. "You are stubborn, human," Corin hissed, "but you cannot win." Daniel staggered but refused to fall, his voice rough but fierce. "You don't understand. I don't fight to win. I fight so she doesn't lose." The girl screamed, clutching the amulet tighter. Its glow burst outward, blinding the chamber with golden light. Corin snarled, covering his eyes. The force knocked him back, loosening his grip. Daniel leapt forward, pulling the girl free. Together they stumbled toward the far side of the docking bay. Corin's voice echoed behind them, full of fury. "You cannot escape me. The heart of Allura will be mine." Daniel's chest heaved, his muscles screamed, but he kept moving. He dragged the girl behind him, away from the false savior who had betrayed them. The ship was no safe haven. The path they thought would lead to freedom had almost destroyed them, and now they were hunted by enemies on all sides. As the amulet's light dimmed again, Daniel looked at the girl, his voice heavy but unbroken. "We can't trust anyone, not anymore." The girl's silver eyes glistened with tears. Her voice shook. "Then it is just us." Daniel nodded, dead, gripping his wrench, his jaw tight with resolve. "Just us, and that will be enough." But in the darkness of the docking bay, Corin's laughter followed them, low and menacing. He was not finished. He would hunt them too. The betrayal had cut deep, and the danger was greater than ever. The alarms of the station wailed, red lights flashed across the docking bays. Shadows twisted in every corner. Daniel pulled the alien girl through narrow passages, his chest burning with every breath. The amulet glowed brighter than ever, pulsing like it knew the end was near. Behind them, voices echoed. The hunters were coming, and now Corin was with them. His betrayal burned in Daniel's chest like fire. He had trusted once, and it almost cost the girl everything. They reached an old hangar at the far edge of the station. Massive doors half broken, the floor cracked with age. In the center stood a forgotten gateway, carved with symbols that glowed faintly when the amulet's light touched them. The girl gasped, silver eyes wide. "This is it," she whispered. "The place where the heart belongs." Daniel stared at the giant stone-like archway. Machines fused into its frame. Ancient alien tech hummed faintly as if waiting. "What does it do?" he asked. Her small voice shook with awe. "It calls the guardians of Elura, the machines that protect my people. Without them, we are helpless." Before Daniel could answer, the hunters poured into the hangar, weapons drawn. Their leader sneered. "You've run far enough, human. Hand her over." And from another shadow, Corin stepped out, his armor cracked but his smile sharp. "The heart is mine. None of you will leave this place alive." The girl clutched the amulet, tears in her glowing eyes. Daniel stepped in front of her, his wrench raised, his body shaking but unbroken. "You'll have to kill me first," he said. The hunters laughed, but there was no humor in it. Their weapons lit up, blue fire dancing along the blades. The hangar filled with tension, one man, one girl, against enemies on all sides. Then the battle exploded. The hunters charged. Daniel swung his wrench with every ounce of strength left in him. Metal clashed, sparks flew. He ducked, rolled, struck again. His arm ached, blood soaked his shirt, but he kept moving. Corin rushed for the girl. She screamed, backing toward the archway. Daniel saw him and lunged, smashing the wrench into Corin's side. The traitor staggered, snarling, his golden eyes burning with rage. "You can't stop me, human," Corin spat. "I will take the heart, even if I rip it from her hands." Daniel's teeth clenched. His voice was rough. "Over my dead body." The girl pressed the amulet against the archway. Ancient symbols flared to life. The whole hangar shook. A deep hum filled the air. Machines buried in the walls began to stir, their eyes glowing like stars. The hunters froze for a second, fear flashing in their eyes. "She's waking them!" one shouted. Corin roared, charging forward. Daniel blocked him. Their fight turned brutal, fists and metal striking. Daniel's body screamed in pain, but he refused to fall. The girl cried out, "Daniel!" The amulet's light exploded again, beams of gold shooting across the chamber. The archway shone like a sun, and from within, massive figures began to step out, towering guardians of steel and crystal. Their voices boomed like thunder. "Who calls us?" The girl's voice trembled but strong. "Elura calls you. I am her child. Protect us." The guardians' eyes blazed with fire. They turned toward the hunters. The slavers shouted, tried to fight, but the guardians moved like storms. Weapons of light cut through their armor. The hunters screamed as the machines crushed them one by one. Corin snarled, still grappling with Daniel, his voice desperate. "You don't understand. With the heart, I could rule the galaxy." Daniel's jaw tightened. He forced Corin back, slamming him against the wall, his voice cold. "It was never yours to take." He swung the wrench one final time. The crack echoed through the hangar. Corin fell, his golden eyes dimming. Daniel dropped to his knees, his body broken. His breaths came ragged. The fight had drained everything from him, but he looked at the girl, and she was alive. The amulet pulsed gently in her hands. The guardians stood tall, watching over her. The leader of the machines bent low, its voice deep as the ground itself. "This human has stood in the place of many. He has defended the heart of Elura with his life." The girl held Daniel's hand tightly. "He is my guardian," she whispered. "Without him, I would be lost." The machine's eyes glowed brighter. "Then he will be remembered." Daniel tried to smile, his voice weak. "Looks like we made it." The girl shook her head, tears running down her cheeks. "No, Daniel, you saved us. You saved me." The hangar filled with golden light as the guardians spread their wings of energy. The hunters were gone, the traitor defeated, the heart of Elura safe once more. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, his body tired, his soul heavy, but deep inside he felt something he had never felt before. He was no longer alone. He had done something that mattered, something no one could erase. The fight was over, but his story was not finished. The hangar lay quiet after the storm. Smoke curled from shattered walls, the floor cracked with scars of battle. The guardians of Elura stood tall, their eyes glowing like suns. The hunters were gone, their weapons broken, their bodies scattered. Corin lay silent, his ambition crushed beneath his own greed. Daniel knelt on the floor, his chest rising and falling with ragged breaths. His hands shook, his body bruised and bloodied. The girl pressed the glowing amulet against him, as if its light alone could keep him alive. Her silver eyes brimmed with tears. "Stay with me, Daniel, please." He gave her a faint smile, tired but true. "I'm not going anywhere." His voice was rough, but his heart was steady. The guardians stepped closer, their giant forms lowering in respect. One spoke, its voice deep as thunder. "Human, you stood against the darkness when others turned away. You carried the heart of Elura with courage. For this, you will not be forgotten." The girl squeezed his hand tightly. "You are my guardian. My people will know your name." Daniel's throat tightened. He had spent years fixing broken machines, living in the shadows of others, never more than a worker in the background. Yet here, in this forgotten hangar, he had changed the fate of a world. The guardians activated the archway fully. The light spread across the stars, a signal sent far beyond the station. Across the galaxy, the people of Elura would hear it. Their guardians had awakened, their hope restored. Moments later, ships arrived, sleek vessels of silver and blue, carrying the mark of Elura. Warriors and leaders stepped out, their eyes glowing like the girl's. They gasped when they saw her alive, holding the heart close. One of them fell to their knees before her. "Child of Elura, you have returned. The heart lives, and so do we." The girl nodded, then pointed to Daniel. Her voice was clear, stronger than before. "He is the reason I live. He stood for me when no one else would. He is the protector of the amulet." The Elurians turned their gaze to him. They bowed deeply, their voices united. Protector. Daniel felt a weight in his chest, not of pain, but of something new, honor. He had never been honored before, never looked at as more than a man with dirty hands and broken tools. Now, an entire people called him Protector. The leader of the Elurians stepped forward, placing a hand over their heart. "Human, you have done what few would dare. You have faced death not for riches, not for power, but for what is right. That is the true strength of your kind." Daniel tried to stand, his legs weak. The girl helped him, her small hand steadying him. He looked at her, then at the gathered Elurians. "I didn't do it for glory," he said. "I did it because she needed someone, because it was the right thing." The leader nodded. "And that is why you will always be remembered." The guardians' eyes blazed brighter. Their voices filled the chamber. "A new bond has been made. Between human and Elurian, it will echo in the stars." The girl smiled through her tears, her voice soft but strong. "You saved me, Daniel, but you also saved my people. We will carry your name into every dawn." Daniel felt his chest ache. He was tired, more tired than he had ever been, but he knew now that his life had meaning. Not because he was strong, not because he was chosen, but because he refused to stand aside when it mattered. The Elurians guided him to their ship. They promised him rest, safety, and healing. The girl never let go of his hand, her silver eyes never leaving his face. As the ships of Elura rose into the stars, the station shrinking behind them, Daniel watched the endless void outside. For years, the galaxy had felt cold and empty to him, but now it felt alive, bright, full of voices that would remember his choice. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "Maybe humans do belong out here after all." The girl heard him. She smiled and rested her head against his arm. "Not just belong," she said. "You lead." The guardians followed, their wings of light cutting across the black sky. The heart of Elura pulsed in her hands, stronger than ever. Daniel closed his eyes, letting the warmth of its glow wash over him. His story had begun with a single decision. a choice to step forward when others would walk away. That choice had saved a world and written his name into the stars. And though many across the galaxy would speak of the day the Guardians rose again, they would all remember one truth above all. In a universe full of silence, cruelty, and fear, one human refused to stand by.